they make way too many videos about boss battles, but keep in mind that this one was actually requested by my audience. So, woo, let's talk boss battles, baby!
There's not much I need to explain here. I played all the Sly Cooper games recently and I was surprised with the quality of its boss fights. Platforming franchises don't usually put too much effort into them, but these games managed to come up with some really good ones, with fun gameplay, creative ideas, epic setups and memorable villains. So, after getting several requests by some of my viewers to make a Sly Cooper countdown, I thought I needed to address some of these great boss battles. Many people have done it in the past, but now it's my turn to bring my own opinions into the table. And then get to see how everybody will shit on it in the comment section. This is my top 10 Sly Cooper boss battles. By the way, I am only going to focus on fights against main villains, so mini bosses are out of the question. I am sorry, Mecha King Ghidorah, you will have your chance another day. And, as always, remember this is my own personal opinion. If you disagree with me, feel free to share your own opinions in the comment section. And finally, there will be spoilers for every Sly Cooper game on this video.
Now that I said the same crap I say in every video, let's take a look at the best boss battles in the furry Robin Hood franchise. It has nothing to do with the Disney version.
Mugshot. Here's quite an original idea for a boss battle. In this fight, this gangster dog will try to take Sly down by constantly shooting with his guns. But you don't have to actually damage him directly, no. Instead, Sly will have to hit all the mirrors present in the arena in order to make them deflect the light off of the crystals in the room. After every mirror has been hit, the light will hit Mugshot and deal a lot of damage to him. There are 3 stages set in 3 different floors, each with less space for you to run and hide around, with the final one being set on top of a chandelier, which does a fairly good job at testing your platforming skills. But be careful, because Mugshot might shoot one of the mirrors you already hit or make you fall in order to stop you. It's a fun boss battle, and since you have to concentrate on escaping from Mugshot and finding all of the mirrors instead of directly dealing damage to him, it has a more strategic feel to it, which makes it unique and enjoyable. Sadly, this one is only at number 10 because it's stupidly easy and simple, and it can be over fairly quickly. And also because Mugshot himself is far from being one of the most memorable of Sly Cooper villains, but he's alright, he can be funny. He became part of the Fiendish vibe because he was bullied on as a kid, so he watched many gangster movies that made him want to be a gangster himself. That's an interesting backstory, I like it, good for Mugshot.
So, Lola, you're a dog, tell me, do all dogs get stunned after deflecting light off of crystals into them like Mugshot? Okay, no need to be so rude, you bitch.
The Grease. I've talked about Miss Ruby in the past and how she was a musical boss with a lot of waste potential. You can see that here on my boss inspection on her boss battle. Plug! I bring her up because I feel The Grease is Miss Ruby done right. This is a musical boss fight that actually has more to it in terms of gameplay. You play as Murray on this one, as The Grease suddenly brings up a passion for ice skating out of nowhere, so you will have to avoid his attacks while he skates around the frozen arena. After some of these, an ice fortress will fall down around of him, so you will have to hit the giant ice blocks while still avoiding his ice skating attacks in order to deal some damage to this giant goof. After that, the Grease will ensue in some crazy ice skating moves that you will have to copy after him. This musical part may not be deep, but it sure is stupidly fun, and it keeps you on your toes so you can pull off every single move at the right moment. Once you're done with that, it's time to give this stereotype of a bear a well-deserved beating. It's a damn boss battle, but it has a lot of personality which makes it memorable, and the gameplay is simple but a lot of fun. Like I said, this is what Mrs. Ruby should have been, a fun regular boss battle with unique musical interludes in the middle, not just a giant quick-time event fest. But the Grease stays low on the list because the ice physics can be frustrating in places and the quick-time events may not resonate well with some people. But my biggest problem is the Grease himself. He's brimming with personality and his animation and voice acting are perfect. I can admit that, but it doesn't change the fact that he's one of the lamest Sly Cooper villains in terms of backstory and design, and I found him overall very annoying every time he opened his mouth. He's just a stupid Dimitri wannabe, and nobody can ever be as amazing as my man Dimitri. You just don't have the style, Grease. Rajan. Some Sly Cooper boss battles have puzzles that make you think, others test your platforming skills, but a lot of them are just brawlers against a powerful foe with a lot of attacks that you have to avoid, and Rajan from Sly 2 is one of them. In my opinion, Sly 2 Band of Thieves has the worst collection of boss fights in the entire series, but Rajan always stuck with me for some reason. After all, he's the only boss from that game on this list. I mean, Rajan has an entertaining boss battle at the end of the most tedious episode of the entire Sly Cooper series. Major props for that. It's like a cherry on top of a cake. A cake made of shit. But yeah, it was quite a relief to have some enjoyment during episode 3 of Sly 2. This is another one in which you play as Murray. Rajan will attack you with his staff, throwing some of his minions at you, or even by conducting electricity into the water on the ground. And you will also have to watch out for the electric walls surrounding the arena. Is it simple? Yes. Is it mindless? Yes. Is it fun? Of course it is. For such a simplistic battle, it is a lot of fun and it presents a decent challenge. There's not much to it, but it's an exciting and entertaining time for what it is. Rajan himself was not the most interesting of villains, but I do like his colorful Hindu design. Personality-wise, he was alright. He always tried to convince everybody he was of royalty, which made him imposing and intimidating, especially considering he was a drug dealer.
Okay, the game says that he sells spices, but we all know that Rajan actually sold drugs, they just never say it explicitly. I mean, he acted exactly like a drug dealer would. Then again, I don't know many drug dealers, I swear.
The Panda King. One of the strongest members of the Fiendish Five, this guy actually is quite badass, to be honest. For starters, he came from a poor family, but he was always so fascinated with fireworks that he started producing them himself. But the rich people were not interested in the fireworks of a poor guy, so he decided to use them for crime as a revenge. This is an interesting tragic backstory. No wonder this guy would later join the Cooper gang in Sly 3, becoming one of the most memorable characters of the franchise in the process. But let's get back to the first game. The fight against the Panda King is similar to the one against Rajan. It's more of a brawler that keeps you on your toes instead of a puzzle boss that makes you think. You play as Sly, and you have to dodge the several fireballs that he's throwing at you. Once you reach the arena at the center, you will have to constantly hit him a few times while avoiding his powerful kung fu techniques, until he throws you out with his belly, which means you gotta repeat the process. It's really epic and kind of tough, to be honest. Oh yeah, like I mentioned, the Panda King uses the furry character cliché number 420, the Chinese panda who is also a martial arts expert. The odd part is that this game came out years before a classic animated movie about the same topic.
I'm talking, of course, about the little panda fighter.
The Panda King's boss fight was one of the highlights of Sly Cooper 1 for me. It may not have been too complex, but it is fast-paced, dynamic, and overall a lot of fun. It's not any higher although, because you can beat him in just a few minutes, but only if you memorize his pattern to a T. However, if the Panda King had a boss battle in other games, it would have been even easier. But you don't have a health bar in Sly Cooper 1, you die after one hit too if you have a lucky charm. This boss fight gets a lot more challenging because of this, since he can kill you if you mess up just once. I guess outdated game mechanics work to the Panda King's benefit. Miss Decibel. I think I am in the minority here, but I actually really liked Miss Decibel as a character, and that's not only because elephants are one of my favorite animals. Okay, yeah, as a villain she was kind of lame. She pretty much was Le Paradox's bitch, but she did have a great design, funny personality, and the voice acting behind her is just very freaking good. In terms of backstory, Miss Decibel has one of my favorites. She was a shitty musician, and she didn't like the fact that everybody hated her performances. One day she threw her trumpet to the air out of anger, but it got stuck in her trunk. This way, the instrument made a weird melody that hypnotized people, so she began using this newfound ability to, of course, commit crimes.
I do like Miss Decibel's backstory, not only because it's simple and to the point, but also because I would probably do the same if I had the powers of hypnotism.
During the battle against this elephant lady, she will use her musical powers in order to create different attacks that Sly will only be able to climb through if he uses the time-slowing powers of his new Arabian suit. This first phase is very exciting to me because I always loved time manipulation in games, especially during boss battles, and Miss Decibel's fight makes a good job at testing out your skills with this ability. I don't know if it's just me, but I find it quite enjoyable. After doing this a few times, she will stop and move on to the second phase. This one is much more simpler though. Sly will have to avoid her heavy and ruthless attacks until she gets stunned. If you hit her, she will get angry and try to charge at him. By using the time manipulation ability once again, you can trick her into destroying one of the several electric towers around the arena. The second phase is not as fun as the first one, but it does keep the entire boss fight interesting. After repeating this process 3 times, Miss Decibel's battle will finally be over. This is a long one, but it's also very creative and thrilling with the way you have to slow time in order to avoid her attacks and confuse her so she damages herself. I did like Miss Decibel too, and I hated how she got betrayed by Le Paradox after the fight. You coward! You wish your boss fight was half as good as Miss Decibel's! Dr. M. This guy is one of my favorite villains in the franchise. He basically was the Bentley of Sly's that original Cooper gang, but he felt like he was only a sidekick to him. So he left the gang out of anger and tried to open the Cooper Vault as a revenge. This is a great setup for a villain because of how his story with Sly's dad affected the main characters, especially Bentley, who began to question his own relationship with the Cooper gang. And if you make Bentley question his friendship with Sly Cooper, you know you're a goddamn evil genius. And to top it all off, Dr. M is a crazy scientist who makes monsters, and he's voiced by the soldier from TF2 and Peppy Hare from Star Fox. Come on, you freaking mandrill, I dare you to tell me to do a barrel roll!
Actually, it's a nylon roll.
Shut up, you nerd! As the final boss of Sly 3, Dr. M definitely puts up a fight. Sly will have to use his new ability to step on lasers in order to chase Dr. M while he's flying around the arena and shoots at him. Once you reach him, you have to use your cane in order to make him fall down. On the ground, the fight just gets even crazier. Dr. M will use his spider robot thingy in order to shoot lasers, water bombs and electricity at Sly, who will have to avoid them by running, jumping or hiding behind the objects in the arena. This boss doesn't have many openings to deal him damage, so when you see one you must be really fast and careful so he doesn't drain your health with a surprise attack. The battle against Dr. M works so well because it's a combination of both a brawler that tests your fighting skills and a platforming boss that tests, well, your platforming skills. It makes you use both your reflexes and your brain, which works perfectly for a final boss. If there's a negative I have to address about the final battle against Dr. M, is the fact that it doesn't feel that much epic or intense as one would expect from a final boss of this caliber, especially one with such an interesting setup and character. It's disappointing, but oh well, this still is one of the best and most challenging final bosses in the franchise, so it's all good. Well, as long as we ignore the fact that Dr. M died tragically when the Cooper Vault collapsed on him and he caused Sly to get amnesia. Whoops. Clockwork. Oh, here he is, the big baddie, the epic final battle of the Sly Cooper franchise, something that hasn't been replicated in any other final boss from any of the other games. That's a shame because this is a good one. It's not perfect of course, but it works very well. Clockwork is a giant owl that replaced his body parts with mechanical ones in order to outlive and hunt down the Cooper gang during his entire life. He was responsible of killing Sly's parents, he stole and destroyed the Thievius Raccoonus with the help of the other Fiendish Five members, he's an evil asshole, and this final battle is the best setup to finally take him down. A minor downside to this fight is the fact that you are introduced to a new mechanic exclusive to it, the jetpack. The controls are a bit weird, but you can get used to them fairly quickly, so it's no big deal. This amazing final boss is divided in 3 phases. On the first one, he will shoot multiple fireballs that are fairly easy to dodge, so you will have to shoot Clockwork at the parts of his body that Carmelita will stun with her gun. A relatively easy first phase, but quite fun nonetheless. On the second phase, Clockwork will shoot electric rings at you, which you can only avoid by going right through the middle of them, and keep shooting the stunned body parts after that. This part is quite tricky because you must master the jetpack controls in order to place yourself perfectly in each ring. And since you die after 1 or 2 hits in the first Sly Cooper game, this attack may kill you a few times. The third and final phase is barely a boss fight, but it still counts because you have to damage Clockwork. Sly will have to go through a short but excruciatingly hard platforming section while still dodging some of the dying Clockwork's attacks. It's another tricky phase, but after you're done with all the jumping and climbing, you have to get on Clockwork's back and deal the final blows on his head, which will finally kill the robotic owl. Sadly, like most Sly Cooper 1 bosses, this fight can be very easy and end in a few minutes if you memorize his pattern, but regardless of that, this is definitely the best final boss of the entire franchise. The villain is intimidating, the setup and build-up create a lot of tension, and the gameplay is very entertaining and even a bit challenging at times. Oh, and the music is one of the few standouts of the series, which adds to the overall epic atmosphere of this battle.
Here's hoping Clockwork returns as the main villain of a future Sly Cooper game. Did I just make a toast for a cyborg cartoon owl in a kids game? What the hell is wrong with me?
The Black Knight, one of the major villains of Thieves in Time, who actually ends up being Penelope?
No way!
What? Okay, am I the only one who really hates this plot twist?
Apparently, she betrayed Bentley and joined the Paradox because she planned on double-crossing him in order to gain more money and power with the help of Bentley, blah blah blah, and yeah, this is stupid. It doesn't make any sense. It completely goes against Penelope's character, and it just feels like Sansaru Games pulled this twist out of their asses because they didn't know what to do with her. So you know this boss fight has to be good if I put it this high, even when it's related to a terrible plot twist. And you know what? It is! I mean, look at it! It's a giant robot knight that attacks with bombs and lasers. So cool! In order to take it down, you will have to use your archer suit as a Sly. Climb up to one of those towers and shoot an arrow at any of its weak spots, but be sure to have mastered your archery skills because you will need to get past that energy shield if you want to activate the quick time event that will finally deal a lot of damage to the boss. And sometimes you will even need to land an arrow bomb as well. Not only the size of the robot makes this fight feel huge and badass, but it's also very dynamic and stupidly entertaining, and it tests your archery skills in a unique way. But this fight isn't over when you destroy the giant robot, no, because there's a second phase. Penelope will come out with her Black Knight mech, so you will have to take her down as Bentley with his new mech suit. After a brief cutscene, which is awesome because Bentley finally breaks up with that bitch, the fight begins. Yes, the mech's controls are clunky, you have to get used to them, and the gameplay feels slow. But even with those setbacks, this part is amazing because it's just so freaking satisfying to beat the crap out of Penelope. She deserves it, both for betraying Bentley and for being part of that horrible plot twist. Oh, and being slow mechs does lead you to think of when to attack, so there's a bit of a strategy to it, which is a very nice touch. Will we ever see Penelope again? I have no idea, but if we do, I hope they forget this stupid plot point ever existed and make her good again. Until then, I'd rather remember Penelope of being responsible for one of the most epic bosses of the Sly Cooper franchise. El Jefe. Oh boy, this boss was so close to being number 1. I love this fight for a lot of reasons, one of them being the villain in it. He's a major badass. El Jefe is a high-ranking mercenary commander who had managed to conquer many countries across the entire world. Not to mention, he's a motherfucking tiger with katanas, fire and electric powers, and he's voiced by Nolan North. A threatening villain if you ask me. But his boss fight is truly where it's at. El Jefe will try to kill Sly by charging up his blades with electricity, shooting fire blast, and covering the field with electric balls. You must have quick reflexes if you want to avoid every attack by jumping or running. This fight gives the perfect balance of not being too easy nor too hard, so you can only focus on how exciting and polished everything is. You will have to wait until El Jefe decides to shoot a fireball at you, which you will have to reflect back at him with your samurai suit, giving you a chance to go and hit him as much as you can. As you can see, all the bosses in this game make a great use of the costume mechanic, and El Jefe is no exception. After dealing enough damage, El Jefe will move to another area, which you will have to reach via a brief platforming intermission, and after that it's back to the awesome boss battle, a nice little touch that kept the fight interesting. El Jefe reminded me of some boss battles from the Crash Bandicoot franchise, like Dingodile for example. This is what made me realize why I love it so much. It brought me back to some of my favorite platforming bosses from my childhood, because it shares all of the elements that made those fights so legendary to me. The memorable character, the simple yet thrilling gameplay, the solid atmosphere, and more. I do feel slightly bothered by the fact there's 2 tiger villains in the franchise, and that's it. That's my only issue with this great boss, and hell, even Sly mentions it, so I don't really know why I'm complaining. Let's just move on and see who can top the battle against the boss.
That's what El Jefe means in Spanish, by the way. I guess they were afraid that Konami was gonna sue.
This was another episode of Spanish Lessons No One Asked For with a pretentious douche. General Tsao. Oh boy, I love to hate this guy. He's such a giant cock. Seriously, there's no real reason for Tsao to be so evil. He comes from a long dynasty of warriors who seem to have a vendetta against the Cooper gang, and he was going to force the Panda King's daughter to marry him. While he lacks in the backstory and motivation department, Tsao makes up for it with his personality. He's arrogant, cruel, and just flat out sexist.
She's a woman. She doesn't know up from down.
I can't believe he said that in a kid's game. You just can't smell the fedora. Some fans flat out hate General Tsao, but he's just so over the top evil that I love to hate him, which makes the boss fight against him even more satisfying. The first phase is one of the most unique I've ever seen in a boss battle. Sly and Tsao are standing on top of a bamboo forest, so you will have to jump from one tree to another in order to avoid his fireballs. But you will notice that these are no regular jumps. These are huge jumps that could fit right into a martial arts movie, which gives this battle a cinematic flair never before seen in the franchise. What you have to do is be very careful and take advantage of these jumps so you can strike Tsao in the air when he charges at you with his Basso shield. After a few hits, the fight will move on to the low ground, and this second phase just left me speechless. Not only Tsao can take a lot of hits without even flinching, but he's also just so fast and powerful. He uses his shield in combination with his dark magic that summons zombie hands and dragon spirits in order to kill Sly. This fight may be the most challenging in the entire franchise. It's chaotic and it will keep you on your toes at all times. You won't have much room to take a breath, not even on top of the climbable bamboos, because Tsao will eventually cut them down with his shield. This battle is something that could easily be fitted into a hack and slash game like Devil May Cry, and I love it for that. General Cock is an asshole, so taking him down feels extremely good. The first phase is creative, cinematic and entertaining, while the second one is hectic, difficult and fast-paced. And even the music helps create this fitting Chinese martial arts atmosphere that works very well.
For all those reasons, General Tsao from Sly 3 is my favorite Sly Cooper boss battle. Thanks for watching. This has been Obsidious Fan, and I love the Sly Cooper franchise, and I really hope we get a Sly 5 soon. I mean, Thieves in Time ended in such a big cliffhanger! We do know that Sucker Punch Studios is busy with the infamous game, so I wonder what Sansaru Games is up to. After all, they made Thieves in Time, and that game was great. Maybe they could work on the next one. Wait, what? They have been busy making the handheld versions of Sonic Boom instead of working on a new Sly Cooper game. I feel so betrayed right now. See you guys next time. I have to go cry now. Why would they do that?
Okay, you know I wouldn't go anywhere without my obligatory outro. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope all of you who requested this video are satisfied with it. And if you're not, you can always tell me how much of a fuck up I am in the comments. As always, feel free to subscribe if you like what you saw, and if you wanna see more of my work, you can click right there to watch more of my countdowns, right there to watch some of my game reviews, or the last link to check out my unique video series about boss battles, the Boss Inspection. In case you were wondering, this was my number 12 countdown about boss battles, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. This has been Obsidious Fan, and I will see you guys next time.